Hi everyone, and welcome to the Weekly Woo. Wow, we just had a pretty intense full moon over the weekend. How are you all feeling? Get a cup of tea, coffee, water, whatever it is that is going to help you sit and ground and listen, because we definitely have a banger of a week ahead. We are working towards a Mars-Pluto square. And if you don't know anything about astrology, Mars is the planet of, the action that we take, the drive, the will. It can be, it's sex, but it's also like war and conflict. It's where we get our motivation. And it's in Libra right now, where it's debilitated, meaning that, Libra is a sign of balance and compromise, and it's ruled by Venus. And so Mars being in that sign, it can kind of create a cognitive dissonance. Perhaps passive aggression is sort of like, the lowest form of expression of it. But it's going to be squaring Pluto, which has been in Capricorn since 2008. So that Capricorn house of your chart has been going through it since 2008. And this is actually, although what we're leading up to with this Mars-Pluto square, it may not necessarily be, something that initiated in 2008, but this is a long running story in your life. The theme of it, maybe the players have been different from 2008 until now, but there's a theme of acting on a truth of self. Pluto it's the muckraker, right? It's trauma. It's what brings us to the depth, the core of that underworld that is within us, that we all have. And sometimes life brings us to that place, sometimes we willingly go to that place. But when Mars and Pluto are squaring like this, and this is really like the final square, there is a long running story that you are going to be able to have. I don't want to say closure, because I don't know if I believe in closure, but there is definitely a bit of a wrap up here where it's going to be time to move on from this epic lesson. And, there's an element to this where, Pluto is very much about empowerment. It's about turning the dross of life, the pain of life, into your battery, into your fuel, rather than letting setbacks imprison you from going after what you want. And I think like the real upside of this transit that we're all going to be working with this week is a understanding of how you want to take the lessons of the past and everything you've learned when it's come to disappointment, betrayal, self-betrayal, addiction. Where are you going to take it in the future now, to where the lessons are learned? You don't have to repeat the same conflicts, the same patterns. So, this full moon was in Aries, and I don't know about you guys, but it was giving me being dragged through gravel. Sometimes you need that, right? Sometimes life is so fast paced and we're constantly inundated with distractions that to sit down and just feel your feelings can be, a huge chore and task and not fun. And if you were working with this moon, there was more than a few moments where you had the opportunity to really take stock of where you were emotionally. And if it's not where you want to be, then making a commitment to releasing maybe holds on issues or conflicts or ideas of what the future's supposed to look like, so that you can have some freedom, so you can move forward without these sort of noose-like feeling ties to maybe ideas of the way it should be, or regret. We have so many planets going retrograde right now. All of the big planets are basically retrograde, although Pluto is stationing to go direct, which is another reason why this week, this Mars-Pluto square, it's really going to be like, you're not going to miss it. It's unmissable. Whatever the lesson is, whatever the conflict is, whatever that theme is for you, it's been playing for a long time. And this week you're on it. You know, this week you're going to get a chance to finally say goodbye to it and integrate it and use it. And do it with kindness to yourself and to other people, because there is a propensity with this Mars and Pluto, you know, it's a war sort of aspect, and we can release with kindness. And, you know, interesting, this is coming up. I had a conversation with a client where I was like, is it about being kind or is it about being good, right? Is it about doing the right thing or is it about being sweet and kind? So I don't know how much sweet and kindness there is in this particular situation you'll be facing. We'll all be facing it sort of differently. But where is the goodness? Can you find that? And inevitably, because Mars is in Libra, there's an element of, you know, compromise. And this idea of what if what you're working hard to achieve is actually a compromise, a balance, being on the same team. Food for thought. So I'm going to start with our mineral ally this week. Sorry if you hear, I think that's my iPad going off. Okay, what is our mineral ally for this week? If you're new to the Weekly Woo, this is a way where I can share my, I guess, intuitive gifts and spiritual lessons that I've learned along the way. I also take private clients. If you're interested in a private session, you can email me at info@thegoodwoo.org. I am taking new clients right now, which is not always the case. So jump on that if you're interested. Okay. We got two. Picasso stone. I've never heard of this. Named after the famous artist Picasso, stone resembles brushstrokes in an abstract painting. It helps you acknowledge and value your artistic talent and encourages you to express yourself in your own unique way. Picasso stone promotes innovation, creativity, and thinking outside of the box. Okay, this is interesting. One of the other elements astrologically we have right now is Mercury is in Virgo, and it is in a harmonious aspect with Uranus, which is the planet of outside of the box thinking. They're both in earth signs. So Uranus is in Taurus, Virgo is in Virgo, both Mercury is in Virgo, both earth signs. And they're loosely making, right? We've been talking about Pluto. Well, Pluto's in Capricorn, which is why it's square Libra. So we have this Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn grand earth trine that I've been talking about the last few Weekly Woos, where we can really bring in some innovative material art, whether that's sculpting, painting, writing, and specifically, you know, with the idea of that being a communion that you have with the earth, with nature, with your creator. The affirmation is, I embrace my artistic ability and creative talent. There are gifts I have to share with the world that only I can provide. This is also something about this Mars-Pluto, you know, square that we're coming onto that's really like this denouement, the last scene of this Pluto and Capricorn, one of the last scenes of this Pluto and Capricorn journey that we've all been on. And I just got this idea for myself because Pluto's been in my 7th house, which is the house of one-on-one partnerships and open enemies. It's like marriage and open enemies in the same house. Astrology is so interesting, right? Because how quickly can an intimate relationship turn into something that is the opposite? But this week, maybe part of the reprieve we can get in going into this beautiful earth trine, even though we're facing this square, this tension, this push, can you do something creative with it? You know, for me, I'm like, if it's all about these relationships I've had and the ups and downs of, right, relationships in the entertainment industry, maybe I write about that, right? Maybe I paint about that. Or, I have an issue at hand in my life that's stressful. I have a couple of them. And maybe it's like, how can I do something creative that's going to bring me to another level of understanding? Sometimes you start journaling, or if you're artistic, you start painting or whatever it is that you do to express your soul. And once you get in for a couple minutes, something changes. Your perspective changes because your vibration is raising. And so I think we have an invitation to allow art in. Even if that's like, go to a museum, right? Go to a park. Most parks have some form of sculpture now. Sit with a sculpture. And also just the earth itself. There's beauty everywhere. If you follow my Instagram, which this is maybe where you're watching this, that I really take time to go out into nature and observe the beauty, because it is medicine to the soul and it will raise your vibration instantly. And then we have moss agate telling us nature right here. It helped this stone, which is beautiful. I've never seen the Picasso stone, but I've seen and have moss agate. It helps you connect with nature spirits and earth devas. It reminds you to take a walk in the park, explore the woods, or take up gardening. Carrying moss agate brings balance, harmony, and the feeling of wholeness. Tucked into planted boxes, it helps ailing plants thrive and flowers bloom. Health-wise, moss agate speeds up recovery and counteracts illness. Affirmation: to replenish my soul, I take time to connect with nature. Okay, so I have to be honest about this. Sounds like what I've just been talking about the last 5 minutes. I could have just been reading this off. I didn't look at it until you saw me pick it up. So this is why I love doing these readings. This is a real affirmation that the relief that we seek in what may be a stressful week, coming off of this Aries full moon that was crunchy gravel grinding us down, into this square that's going to be building. Once the square pops around the 8th or the 9th, things dissipate. But it's the build when it comes to Mars aspects. It's saying, go into nature. This is where you're going to find your reprieve. This is where you're going to be able to restore. This is where you're going to be able to access thinking outside of the box with these problems or issues that may be coming up. So love that. Love it when we get that confirmation of me just sort of picking up something intuitively, and then the cards really speaking, great spirit speaking through the cards and me to affirm what you need to know to be able to navigate the energies of the week ahead with as much benevolence, positivity, and optimism and practicality as possible. So now I'm using the Nature Speak Oracle deck to get our plant ally. Now this deck has things other than plants too, but it really spoke to me today. So we got desert, resilience, and strength. And you know what? When we're talking about this Mars-Pluto square and what we've been going through with the Pluto situation in Capricorn since 2008, there is an area in your life, wherever this has been hitting for you, where you are so much stronger and wiser now. And like who you were before and who you are now probably wouldn't even know how to communicate. So there is a pat on the back, that you've made it to this place. And there's something interesting about this that I'm experiencing, which is there were situations like where this is specifically working in my life. There were situations before that would create so much anxiety in me. Drawing boundaries, right, were very difficult for me. I've become very anxious about doing it. I would say I could write a course on drawing boundaries at this point, and all the, trauma, PTSD, anxiety that came with it, I have worked through over the last, few years, basically decade, right? Resilience and strength. I feel like, this shows us these rock formations And this is also bringing me to the idea of big picture thinking. And sometimes when we're involved in situations where we're having to stand up for ourselves, draw boundaries, fight for justice, whatever it is, sometimes our pursuit of resolving that, achieving that, can keep us closed down. And this week, there's a sense of there is medicine in your ability to step back, recharge in nature, and then move forward again with a different new perspective that's coming from the higher vibrational state of you committing to the intention of, I'm taking a break and I'm going to go nourish myself out in nature. There's something about that intention, the clarity and the purity of that intention, that is going to give you a sense of not just a zippy energy to handle things, but a sense of gravitas, of grounding. I also feel like a lot of us are going to be dealing with situations where things feel sparse. What are we seeing? Like, I was talking about the moon with like the gravel. A sense of like open space, but not having a lot to cling to hold on to. And this is where that feeling of like, I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I'm going to hold to my intention that what I'm doing is what's right and what's best. It's really where to hold on to. That keep going back to your intention. Are you clear about why you're doing what you're doing? On the bottom of the deck, we got winter, be still and go within. Love this. Love doing these readings for you guys. So desert and winter, right? This is a week where we have challenges ahead. Winter is challenging, right? Living the desert, challenging. So we have challenges ahead, but we're being told we have the strength to get through them. We have the resources to get through them. And being still. So there is going to be situations that will trigger you this week into old patterning. Can you choose differently? Can you be still and choose differently? Okay, let's move on now to our animal for the week. Very excited to see what this is, considering what is our animal ally for this week? Angels, guides, and others, great spirit. What is our animal ally? We have bat spirit. A rebirth is assured. I love this. So Pluto is the planet of rebirth. It's about regeneration, right? Of the idea of the phoenix, everything just being burned down to come back to the very basics, right? A rebirth is assured. But if we're talking about a rebirth, what that also means is that there has been an ending. And I feel like with this full moon, we all have been dealing with that. Endings that we know we have to initiate them or accept them, because on the other side of them is something new, something perhaps fragile, but something new that we can now go into very cognizantly with the thought of, okay, this is going to be done differently because of what I've learned through this journey. And I want to encourage you guys, even, in this situation, the theme that we've been talking about that's been working since 2008 and really been, really been active over the last 4 years. Can you see it as fuel? And can you react to maybe a repetitive situation, a repetitive scenario with a lighter, fresher perspective. Bats see in the dark. They live in the dark. They hunt in the dark, so they're not competing with the birds. There's something incredibly powerful about this species of animal. And they're living in the dark, being comfortable with the dark, being comfortable with the pain, being comfortable with the shadow of human life. I mean, ultimately, it also reminds me of, like, you know, so much of our struggle and pain is because we're not admitting we have a fear of death, right? Which, if we admit that and we look at that, then that's going to send us on an entire spiritual journey, which I believe is what, you know, what life is for. So we're going to have to face some darkness within ourselves and within other people this week and within our world this week. But their only way out is through. And the bat really shows us this. I also think, you know, with bat, there's an element of, you know, dream time being very active. And I know with this full moon, man, sleep has been really difficult for a lot of people. You know, I have, you know, friends who aren't really into astrology, and then when something like that pops up, they're like, what's going on? Something's odd. But a rebirth also, I want to encourage you guys, because we got these cards about artistry. What did you do when you were little? Did you draw? Did you paint? Did you braid? Did you make jewelry? Did you garden? Go back to these places. Grow something, even if it's a small pot of herbs. Connecting to a natural cycle, and as many as you can. This is where the regeneration is, right? This is where the rebirth is. I hope this helped you guys. I hope it helps you this week. If you're interested in more, come join us over on patreon.com/thegoodwoo. I'm going to get into bat spirit a little bit more. We're going to talk more about how to commune with nature in a situation where you don't have much time. And we're going to draw some other cards. So thank you so much for viewing, you guys. Have a wonderful week. Hi patrons, and welcome to your extended weekly woo. I just want to pull another animal card this week because it's really brown bear spirit. Take time out. Well, here we have another confirmation, because what we got, you know, take time to reconnect with nature. I think that this rebirth that we're talking about this week really only happens in that most ideal way if we are going slow. With Mars energy, there could be a propensity to want to rush. I'm telling you right now, don't rush those responses. Don't rush the phone calls. Let's read about that. After something has run its course and died or been released, finished, surrendered, completed, or ended, there is a promise of a new beginning. Rebirth is assured just as night gives way to dawn and the bat emerges from the darkness of a womb-like cave. This bat spirit has come to remind you that this rebirth is a miraculous one. For the very best elements of what you had to give up in the death of the old are present in this new, amazing life forming now. This is the miracle and magic of rebirth in every aspect of your life, including the rebirth of faith in your ability to establish new and healthy relationships. You are in unknown territory and it may feel like you're lost, but trust that your intuition will be a reliable guide as you give birth to something new and unfamiliar. Bat spirit has listened in the darkness of night and has heard all your hopes and dreams, your fears and worries, and assures you that this new version of your dream, this move from darkness into light, from lost to found and death to rebirth, comes to fruition with love at its core. Trust that what seems to have died is actually shape-shifting into something even more meaningful and wondrous than before. If you feel you are in the dark, know that come morning, all will be revealed and things will be in a new form that is right for you. letting go, right? So when we have a full moon, there's 2 weeks until the next new moon. This is the phase of the moon where it is time to let go and release, to make room for that next new moon. Now, the next new moon is an eclipse, you guys, October 14th. And it's a powerful, eclipses, in my opinion, are basically like in your life, they're node points. Like these events around the eclipses, they were always going to happen, but there's sort of a hierarchy of the highest vibrational reality of that situation that was always going to happen, or sort of the mediums, all the way down to the lowest. So these are like when you get married, people die, or you give birth, or you get pregnant, or you get this new job that sends you on a whole. These are the node points, and we get them multiple times a year. This particular October is really focused, these eclipses are focused on relationships. And I do feel, coming off of this Venus retrograde that we've had, and even this Mercury retrograde that we had in Virgo, I think we've had a lot of aha moments about our closest relationships. And I feel like there's not a whole lot of bandwidth that people have for BS anymore. And there's an understanding that the energy we give is precious. It's our greatest gift to each other, our ability to give attention to each other. And I think we're really being asked to choose, who are you going to be giving attention to? What are you going to be giving attention to? Because you can't do it all at this point. Okay. With Bear, take time out. Bear is about the dream time, right? The idea of hibernation. Look, if you can take this week and not deal with anything, good for you. Go get in a cave, a proverbial cave, and just try to avoid the week. But in the end, that's kind of a joke because there's no such thing as that. But again, we taught, this resilience and strength. And the card under it was sunshine. It's like, just get through this week. And on the other side of next weekend, it's going to be a lot lighter. I really feel that way. But change is coming. You're already in it, Eclipses can have an effect like a month before and a month after, where you're being really pushed to change the course of your life. And that's what eclipses do. They put us back on the path, or give us an option to get back on the path of our highest good, of what we're here to do. And sometimes, that can feel like being dragged, because we have this idea of how it's supposed to go. But oftentimes our idea of how it's supposed to go is not nearly as magical, beautiful, profound, mystical as what Great Spirit has in store for us. With eclipses also, it's not a time to be trying to manifest necessarily, although I believe in affirmations every day. It's holding a vibration, a high vibrational state of receptivity and gratitude, and allowing the universe to work through the circumstances and people of your life to align you with where you're truly meant to be and who you're truly meant to be with. It's like, kind of like being a trapeze artist and trusting that there's a net, Okay, so I'm picking an archetype card from the Wild Unknown. Let's see, what does she have? Miss Kim Kranz, great artist. The Forest. Okay, so we've gotten a lot of confirmation about going into nature. Most of you are my clients. This is homework to make getting into nature the healthy habit. Let go of one bad habit and let nature be that medicine. And the forest, seeing the forest, not getting so myopic, looking at the entire big picture. You don't have to win every battle. And in fact, I think there's an element that this week is asking us to actually like let go of the idea of battle. There is, let's see, we on the bottom of the deck, we got something really interesting that I've never pulled from this deck. Thank you for your patience as I look it up. This card, mythic time, synchronicity, alignment, ease in decisions and action when in the darkness, fighting against time. Okay, so a lot of you have followed me for a while and know that I talk a lot and have talked a lot about time and time-space continuum and the connectivity of all things. We're in an eclipse season that is going to get really, the veils are going to be very thin, you guys. Your intuition's going to be pounding. There's just a lot of changes and influx and like aha moments where you're like, oh my God, now I see so clearly. Information coming in that changes the course of your life. And I want you guys to look how like mystical this energy of letting go and really seeing this lifetime as like, again, the forest for the trees. Like, it is a part of your soul's journey. And to really think about this week, what are the soul lessons that you're here to learn? How many have you learned already? What would you say since 2008 has been the biggest soul lesson for you? Really spend time with that this week, you guys. Because by the end of this weekend, there's an element to that lesson that if you haven't really gotten it, if it's not a notch in your belt, you're going to be missing something, because you need this lesson to move forward. You need this lesson to be strong where you're going, which is a period of rebirth and magic. So I hope this was helpful. I know a lot of you guys really appreciate when I do the, whatever it is you're thinking about, let's think about it now. Let's do that. So whatever is heaviest on your heart or what you're needing the most guidance on right now, I'm gonna pull a couple of specific cards. What do they need? Okay, we got fresh start, rebirth, love it, and happy outcome. You guys, a rebirth is assured. Shine forth. You've really earned it. You know, if you've been doing the work, allowing the time to look deep within, to be introspective, to do your spiritual work, to ask for help, this is going to be a really great eclipse season. If you haven't been doing the work, you may get dragged to a place where you can start that work, where you can have that rebirth, which is also a great thing. So let me know how this week goes. And again, seeing clients again, if you need a session, email me at info@thegoodwoo.org. Thank you for all of your support, patrons. Wishing you a wonderful week.